Hey guys, so I am in a very different room, and there's not too much you can see because clearly it's my bed behind me, and other than that, I haven't really done too much. So, I am not going to update you on my life right now because I really want to do this comic review. I read it last night and I think it's super important. So let me get back to comic reviews and then eventually at some point I'll do a video essay. But let's talk about Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 1. So recently in the last 2 months I've rewatched the entire series at least twice. And so the comic came out not too long ago, and by not too long ago, I mean like 3 days ago. Your best bet for finding it is actually checking your local comic book store because Amazon and Barnes& and Noble are slated to ship in August. So if you want it, support your local comic book store because honestly, they're some of the best. And I'm not just gesturing to this comic because I love it so much. If you can't tell my excitement, which I'm sure you can at this point, I just really love Legend of Korra, and not just because I've rewatched it in the last 2 months, and also because I'm talking about the comic, and I basically went out and bought it, canceled my order on Amazon, and have now officially read it, and am working on a written review along with this video. So the thing about the Legend of Korra comic is that it picks up right where the series ends, which is Korra and Asami. So Korra and Asami, if you don't know, but if you do, spoiler alert, probably shouldn't be watching this video. Either way, they go into the spirit world at the end of the TV show, and that's where we're left with. We've gotten a few details about who they are, and that they're both bi, and obviously they're women, and they're great, and they're basically a couple. So, whew, that's a lot. But a lot of the comic is not just focusing on their sexuality and Korra and Asami basically coming out to their friends and their family is both dating, and also as just being a couple and being themselves. But we're also finding out a bunch of other characters that are LGBTQ identified, which is awesome because it's never something that's really talked about in the TV show, other than maybe some vague hints, but for the most part, you don't really get too much information on character sexualities. And I think that's a huge thing. And the great part about the comic is that it's really expanding upon that world overall. So, quick thing, there's a third spirit portal that's opened if you haven't seen the end of the series or if you don't quite remember. There's definitely it definitely feels a lot less harmonious, even though obviously the third spirit portal is kind of an accident, and Korra even admits to that in the comic. And it's interesting because basically the third spirit portal opening up creates a huge refugee crisis, which I think is actually kind of a beautiful thing to show because it mirrors a lot of the current world problems that we have, like with Syria, and how we have all of these refugee camps that we can't do very much about, and we're trying to do a lot about, but you get people that live in these camps for years and years and years. Anyway, you also learn a lot about the Republic City government and how frustrating politics can be, which, I mean, if you know anything about the current world, politics are very frustrating. But you learn how sometimes the focus for re election campaigns turns into a lot of publicity stunts. And I think there's a lot of wonderful things in this comic that perfectly mirror our world, but also really kind of speak to the unfortunate aspects of public service and things just not going the way you want them to. Anyway, so the art in this comic is fantastic. I love Irene Coe. I've been following her for the last couple of months in anticipation of this comic coming out on Tumblr, so you can follow her at Prom Night. I put the link in the doobly-doo down there. The colors are by Vivian Ning, and honestly, they're stunning, and they bring the world back to life. I'm so blown away by the colors and the art, and I just wanted to give both of them a shout out because it's so fantastic. So overall, I don't want to give too much away on the story other than what I've kind of already said. I'm not going to tell you the other characters that are identified as LGBTQ because I think that's important for everybody to find out on their own. So Tumblr Tumblr savior yourself so you don't find out any spoilers. I'm really excited for part 2 overall and the future comics that come out for Legend of Korra. And honestly, I hope they keep both Irene and Vivian because I think they could do a wonderful job at continuing with not just this story, but also future stories for the comic. It's been great to expand upon the world beyond the 4 short books that we got in the TV series. And honestly, seeing Korra and Asami's relationship is very, very heartwarming because they're having to navigate their lives both separate and together, and also the social status that both of them are in. Because Asami is the CEO of her company, and Korra is the avatar. And I think having the two of them navigating that life and their relationship is so important because, yeah, it's also important to show everyday people like myself who, don't have superpowers and aren't necessarily in a higher place of status in a relationship, but at the same time, like showing people that are powerful and are in a much higher and better place, I guess, in some ways, but also in a place where they're very much living in a fishbowl. And I think that's very important to show how they are navigating their lives together and separate in their status and how they are supporting each other and all of that. So, my biggest recommendation is yes, definitely read this comic. Please support your local comic book stores by picking this up there. You can definitely probably find it because I definitely found a couple copies at mine. So, please, 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 please read this comic because I think if this comic doesn't get enough support, Nickelodeon and Dark Horse won't necessarily feel the need to continue on with other Legend of Korra comics in the same way that they did Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, anyway, that's my comic review for Legend. I'm talking so fast. That's my comic review for Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 1. Art by Irene Coe and written by Michael and Brian because everything is awesome. Anyway, please pick this up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What your thoughts were on the comic. I'm sorry that I talked so fast in this review. I'm already at 7 minutes, so I'm well aware that I am breaking my 3-minute rule. Anyway, stay excellent. Don't forget to be awesome. Bye!